Hello, I'm Peter Bamford. I've lived in this area for a great portion of my life. I was only a babe in arms when my parents moved back into Kendall Road, and I lived there until I was 18, until I went into the army. I came out of the army, I lived there for about 2 years, but during that period my sister bought the house next door to my parents, so I've been in contact with this area now known as Blackley Forest for a long time. The forest was planted in 1953 as a memorial to the men who gave their lives in the Second World War. Men and women, one should say, who gave their lives in the Second World War. Prior to the forest, the area that we're in now, on this footbridge, was always referred to as the End Fields. The area to our left was always known as the Hills for obvious reasons. At the side of the Heaton Park Hotel, where there is now a travel lodge, was a garage, but between the garage and the Heaton Park Hotel was a road. Not a surfaced road, one that had just been surfaced by years of use. That ran down from the Heaton Park Hotel to the footbridge. It was always known as Blackley Road, and that is the reason for the new in Blackley New Road. Originally the bridge was wider than the present bridge and was a wooden structure. When you came over the bridge you went straight. The paths to the left and right did not exist. That was just rough ground. When you carried on straight over as the road went, to the right hand side were two old cottages that had a rather unique water system, though they did not have gas or electricity and were pulled down in the late 40s, early 50s as unfit for human habitation. The water system was quite unique in the fact that it was spring water that came down from the hills through a pipe system that split off, so the two houses had fresh running spring water. The spring water ran into a trough, and for drinking water you took not from the trough but from the actual flowing water. For cleaning anything such like, you used the water in the trough. The trough had an overflow pipe on it. This water overflowed into a grid and went away and under the house toilets and flowed out just here into the river, so the toilets were permanently flushed. This area, before there were any trees, was just rough ground. As I said earlier, we just called it the Hills, and this was the area where as children we came to play, because Heaton Park was closed due to the fact the RAF were using it, and we just played, and all the battles of the Second World War we won round here. We just fully enjoyed ourselves. Of course these paths weren't here, so you had to just scramble over what there was, but from memory the ground was not as wet as it is now, but memory is a funny thing, isn't it? The lake that's behind me was originally the water supply for a dye works which stood to my right, where you can now see some flats and a new housing estate. That was known as Bowker Vale Works. Originally it was a cotton spinning factory, but in latter years it was a dye works. The word Bowker is Old English for either dyer or bleacher, and that is the reason why this estate is known as Bowker Vale. This piece of land we're on now has evidently, the land has moved and been some form of erosion, because this was fairly smooth land and was used by the farmer from Bowker Vale Farm which was at the corner of Mead Hill Road and Middleton Road, as grazing land. To my front, further away, there was a flat piece of ground which is now used by the Friends of Blackley Forest, call it the top meadow. That, when I was a child, was a hayfield, and great fun was had by all of us. We used to go up and help, in inverted commas, the farmer making hay. And it's interesting to recall that all the machinery and all the carts were drawn by horses. And as children, we were given the privilege of taking the horses with loaded hay carts to the gate of the field. When they got onto Blackley New Road, they used to allow us to take them again. But of course you wouldn't be able to do that today with modern traffic. Towards the end of the 1940s, the hayfield was taken off the farmer and a prefabricated housing estate was built, known as prefabs. That of course was pulled down, and we now have the top meadow.